Elizabeth Furnace Campground in the George Washington National Forest. I'm John Treese, I'm the owner of Surface Terror Media. This is the first actual campground review that I'm doing. However, I've previously done 2 campground walkthrough videos. One was at Shenandoah River State Park, which is a Virginia state park, along with Chip Oaks Plantation State Park. I plan on doing more of these types of campground walkthroughs as I have time, so please do all the YouTube things, like, subscribe, and even leave a comment. I'd be more than happy to reply to some comments too if anybody has any questions. I'm going to give some comments about Elizabeth Furnace and about the campground in general, and then at the end I will actually do a walkthrough of all 31 sites. You can feel free to skip to that now if that's all you're looking for. This is the family campground at Elizabeth Furnace. There's also a group campground about 1 mile north of this location. Elizabeth Furnace is located on Fort Valley Road in Fort Valley, Virginia. Nearby towns are Strasburg and Front Royal, both of which are less than 10 miles from here. This area is named for the furnace that made pig iron in the 1800s. Up until the early 1900s, this area was completely barren of trees, and an effort was made to replant trees in the area. This area is now completely forested due to that effort. Going back to the campground, the family campground has 31 sites available for use, along with 2 campground host sites and another site for a maintenance host. As of this year, 2021, sites are now $20 per night during the peak season and $10 per night during the off-peak season. Peak season is typically mid-May through September, although that can vary somewhat due to the weather. During their peak season, when it is $20 per night, the bathhouse is open, and that has flush toilets and hot showers. No matter if the bathhouse is open or closed, there are several vault toilets in the campground that are available, and also 1 vault toilet is available at the Group Campground as well. Speaking of the Group Campground, that is available to rent by the night and can accommodate fairly large groups with numerous tents. Again, a vault toilet is available, however, no flush toilets exist at that campground. One benefit to the group camp is the ability to make a reservation ahead of time and have it reserved for you when you arrive. In the family campground, it's all first come, first serve. Generally during the week, there's never a problem at getting a site at the family campground. However, it can fill up on Friday and Saturday nights, so it is best to get here early. On a holiday weekend, you probably want to get here very early on a Friday or possibly even on a Thursday if you have the time. Just note, if you do come early, you do need to occupy the site for at least the first 24 hours, although you can stay up to 21 days. If you have an RV, you really want to get here early because the sites do fill up, and most of the sites can only accommodate a pop-up trailer. As you'll see in the walkthrough video, there are certainly some sites that can accommodate much larger RVs. However, they do fill up fairly quickly because those are the larger sites. For those planning on coming with an RV, there is a dump station available, and it's certainly available during the peak season and also some other times during the off-season. If you're coming during the off-season, you may want to call ahead to the National Forest office in Edinburgh, Virginia, and just inquire as to whether the dump station will be open when you get here. If you happen to arrive and no sites are available, fear not, there are still some sites available across the street from the family campground. These sites are no cost and you can easily pitch a tent. Many of them even have a fire pit available. This is mainly a family atmosphere here, and no alcohol is allowed to be consumed while on this property. The campground is patrolled by law enforcement, and there's also no loud partying allowed here. Generators are allowed at all times except during quiet hours, which is from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. However, please be kind to your neighbors and try not to wake them up first thing at 6 a.m. In reference to generators, also please try to bring the quieter inverter-style generators. They are much more quiet than the traditional open-frame generators and don't disturb people quite as much. If you have solar panels, whether on your RV or just single solar panels that you carry with you while camping, they're generally not very useful during about mid-April to November. But other than that, they can be useful. Right now it's about mid-April and I'm able to get some solar power out of my panels on top of the RV. At night, you're not going to find a much quieter place after everybody settles in. You'll hear the occasional car drive by and the occasional jet fly overhead, but that's about it. When camp hosts are present here, the gate will lock at 9 p.m. and it will reopen again at approximately 8 a.m. If you need to leave between those hours, you can feel free to park in the overflow parking across the street so you can still easily get out. If you need any supplies while you're here, there's a small country store, the Fort Valley Country Store, about 8 miles south on Fort Valley Road from the campground. It is very easy to find and is directly across the street from the fire department. There are also other stores in Strasburg and Front Royal if you need anything else. My family and I always enjoy our time here. It's a great place to come and enjoy any outdoor activity for those who like to hike, swim, just relax, fish in the creek. There's really something to do for everyone. As I mentioned earlier, I've filmed each of the 31 sites here at the family campground, and I will start with those. Following the walkthrough, I also have filmed a few other things, and I'll put those at the end. This is the entrance to the Elizabeth Furnace family campground. As you can see, the gate is typically closed at 9 p.m. and opens back up at 8 a.m., but that is only if there's a camp host on duty, which there is not right now. If you need to leave between those hours, directly across the street there is some additional parking. Probably could fit up to about a dozen cars or more over there. This is the bathhouse near the entrance to the campground. They do have hot showers, flushable toilets, but it's only open between May and September. Right next to that here are the two camp host sites, and being this is April, they still don't have a host here. There is water available at various points around the campground. However, when the water is off during the off season, there's also this hand pump where you can get water from. The water is drinkable, however, some people may not like the taste, in which case they can bring their own bottled water. The best thing to do when you arrive here at the campground is actually just to drive around, find the site you want, then return back here to the registration section and register for the site. You can also pay right here in the pay slot. This is site number 1. This is right across from the camp host site. It's pretty sizable. You probably could get up to about a 30-foot RV in here, although it may be somewhat difficult to level. This is site number 2. Probably could get a very small RV in here, maybe a pop-up. Now, of course, there's a nice sized tent pad in back there. This is site number 3. Pretty unleveled, maybe get a small pop-up in here, and also there's a nice sized tent pad in the back. This is site number 4. You could probably get a fairly sizable RV in here, although you would need to come in backwards and technically the wrong way to do it. This is site 5. It actually has 2 different entrances. This is more of a parking area here, and then down where that SUV is, there's the larger site down there. You could probably get a decent sized RV in, but again, you also would have to drive the wrong way to get it parked. This is site 6. Probably could get a small RV in here, and then again, there's a nice sized tent pad in back. Also is right next to the creek here. That creek water would definitely make it nice for sleeping. This is site 7. Definitely enough room for a small pop-up. And also a nice tent pad off to the side. This is site 8. Maybe could get a small pop-up in here, but it's very tight as far as parking your vehicle. And then there's, in the back, nice tent pad. Across from site 8 there is water access, although at this time of the year, mid-April, it is not on. Should be on from May through September. This is site 9. You, again, probably get a small pop-up in here. Wouldn't leave a whole lot of room for a vehicle, but you could probably do it. There's also a tent pad up above, which may be a little hard to see. This is site 10. As you can see, you could easily fit a pop-up, maybe up to about a 25 foot RV if you needed to. This is site number 11. If you move some things, you probably could fit up to about a 25 foot RV in here. This is site 12. Again, maybe get a pop-up in here potentially, but it would be a little tight. There's a nice sized tent pad in the back, and you may not be able to see. There's also a picnic table, as there is at every site. This is site 13. Probably could get a small pop-up again, but this is definitely a nice site for tent camping. Very spacious. This is site 14. Again, enough room for a pop-up, but definitely a nice tent site as well. This is site number 15. Again, a very spacious site. This is next to 13. Plenty of room to set up a nice tent site. You can probably barely make out that little yellow piece on the background. That is site 15, and there's a trail that comes right from behind there down here to the creek. It's a very wide section of the creek. And due to a recent rain, it's pretty decently flowing at this time. This is site number 16, very large site. Easily get a big RV in here. However, you do need to come in the wrong direction on the road to be able to pull in. This is kind of the back side of site 16, just kind of showing a different angle of it. Right across from site 16 is a big grassy area. There's a couple horseshoe pits. As you can see on the far side is the bathhouse. This is site 17. You could probably get about a 20 to 25 foot RV in this site. This is site 18. Probably get a pop-up, or as you can see, a van camper in here pretty easily with some extra parking space as well. This is site 19. It's kind of in the shape of a Y. Probably could get one or maybe even two RVs in here, as long as they're not that big. This is site number 20. It's actually a fairly wide site, plenty of parking. Maybe could get up to about a 20-foot camper in here. This is site number 21. Nice tent site. Maybe get a small pop-up in here where this vehicle's parked. This is site 22. We'll get a small camper, maybe up to a 20-foot camper. And there's a nice tent pad in the back. This is site 23. Again, you could get a pop-up in here pretty easily. And there's a nice tent pad in the back. This is site 24. You could probably get up to about a 30-foot RV into this site. This is site 25. As you can see, it's very long. You could probably get about as long of an RV as you have into this site and still have plenty of room. This is site 26. You could probably easily get about a 30-foot RV in here. There's also a tent pad up top that you can set up a tent as well. This is site 27. As you can see, there is some water access there. That should be on during the peak season when the bathhouse is open. As you can see, you can fit a decent sized RV in here because you could back the RV right up onto the tent pad. This site is also somewhat a buddy site to site 29, which you can see through there. Both sites pretty much butt up against each other. Make a good site for two different parties together. This is site 28. You probably get a small RV in here. I think I've seen up to about a 25-foot RV that's able to fit in here, but it is somewhat hard to level. This is site 29. You could probably get a small RV, maybe up to about a 20-foot. Of course, there's also a tent pad. This is the one that's opposite of site 27. And you can see that in the distance. This is site number 30. You could probably get a very small RV in here, and there's also a nice sized tent pad up and back. This is site 31, fairly big site. Fit a pretty decent sized RV in here. And you probably could even come in the right direction to do it. Here's one of the vault toilets they have. These are open year round. Of course, no flushing or anything, but they are available. Right across from one of the vault toilets is site 32. So you can see a fairly sizable site. You could probably get in there from either direction. However, it might make it a little easier if you came in from the wrong direction to get in it. There are bear-proof trash receptacles in numerous places around. No excuse to leave any trash anywhere with how many there are here. This is also the entrance to the RV dump station. This is available mainly in peak season, but I believe it may be available some in the off season as well. This area is just behind site 11. You can see the creek flowing through here nicely. It's actually pretty high at the moment. And then there's this nice gathering area here if you want to give a group talk. Continuing over from where the group area is, there's an old cabin here that was built in the early 1800s. It's when pig iron was big in the area. There's also a suspension bridge right next to where the cabin is that goes across the creek. Just across the suspension bridge is the day use area. There's a small pavilion here and a whole lot of picnic tables that you could have some lunch at. There's also the parking area for the day use area across another small bridge. This is the furnace for which this area was named. It's last in production right up until the Civil War. You can see that little flat thing that almost looks like a rock is actually a piece of pig iron that ran out of one of the forms, according to that sign right there. This is the entrance to the Elizabeth Furnace Group Camp. So you can see there's the vault toilet that I mentioned earlier. That's also the upper parking lot. And then down below is a lower parking lot. In total, you could probably fit around 30 cars in here. This is the lower part of the group camp. Obviously, there's plenty of trash receptacles here. You can see there it says Site A, and all the pads and picnic tables for Site A are back there. And over here is Site B. Again, plenty of pads and picnic tables here to set up. This is Side A at the group campground. Again, plenty of pads and picnic tables. There's even a horseshoe pit here. Side A has this nice fire pit and barbecue ring. Also has some benches there if you want to give a talk. This is inside of the Side B to the group camp. There's plenty of picnic tables and nice pads in here. There's also a nice big fire pit and a place to grill some hamburgers and hot dogs. This is located a few miles north of the campground. It's still on Fort Valley Road, very easy to find. Locals call it the Blue Hole. A lot of good fishing and swimming in the summertime. Thank you for watching, and again, if you found this video useful, please hit the like button. Also, if you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave those below, and I will respond back as I have the time. Thank you very much.